How to measure how stupid someone is. Pavlov, as you may recall, was a psychologist who performed an experiment. He rang a bell and fed a dog. Eventually, the dog became, quote, conditioned. When the bell rang, the dog would salivate. The rest of the story, which you may not be aware of, is that there was a second part of the study. Pavlov would also measure how many times he would ring the bell before the dog learned there was no food and would stop salivating at the ring of the bell. Men can also be trained. Men are trained just as animals are trained. They are trained to make undelayed, reflex-like reactions instead of thought-delayed reactions. That is why propaganda is so effective. People have been trained to have conditioned responses to propaganda. Farmers began to call their hogs centuries before Pavlov did his experiment with his dog. What farmers and Pavlov did was to train their animals in identification. They got them to the point where they behaved toward a bell or some other sound in the same way that they behave toward food itself. If you call the hogs and then give them corn, they will, after a few feedings, come even if you don't give them corn, provided you call them. For the pigs, call is corn. The stupidity of a pig is to be measured in terms of the number of times he comes in response to your call after you have discontinued the corn, and in terms of the promptness and speed, the lack of delay with which he continues to come. To keep from behaving like Pavlov's dog is to find out what Pavlov did to his dog. In other words, if you want to avoid being fooled, you should find out how the fooling is done. Men, read an article, hear a news story, listen to the various forms of propaganda from a politician, and they have the same response. Time after time, year after year, decade after decade. Their responses are due to identification, such as truth is a conspiracy theory. They are conditioned. For example, they always vote the same way. Politicians make promises, but they never keep them. Yet men continue to fall for the same promises and lies. They never wake up, they never think, they never become suspicious. This is the measure of stupidity of men. How long they salivate at the bell or run for the corn, even when the food and corn are no longer there.